In today's video, we're going to be running through my initial thoughts and impressions of Aqara's brand new FP2 sensor. Check it out. What's going on, guys? I hope you're all doing well. Last week, Aqara released the highly anticipated FP2 presence sensor, and if you didn't know, this sensor is actually the successor to the very popular FP1 presence sensor, and one of the main reasons that this is now more popular is the fact that it's actually globally available. Previously, if you wanted the FP1, you'd have to import it over from China using a site like AliExpress or other third-party vendors. So if you were actually lucky enough to get your hands on one of these sensors, you probably spent your entire weekend playing around with it, seeing what automations you could trigger, and just generally integrating it into your smart home. As I mentioned, the FP2 is the successor to the FP1 sensor, and both of these sensors make use of millimeter wave technology, which in very short, basically allows the sensors to perform very accurate occupancy sensing. The FP2 features a whole host of new features and some big design refinements, but one of the main reasons it's been getting so much attention within the smart home world is because of its brand new sensing capabilities. Previously, with the FP1, we were able to perform some very accurate occupancy sensing based on an individual being in a set room or a set area. But now with the FP2, we can actually take this a step further, and not only can we detect a whole area, we can actually break this area up into different zones, and you can perform different automations based on the zones that are entered by not just one person, but multiple. And that feature alone is just mind-blowing, and ever since I saw this at CES 2023, I've actually really been excited for this sensor, and that's not usually the case with smart home products. You don't usually get really excited about them, but for this one I was. Without a doubt, the FP2 is an amazing and remarkable sensor, but it isn't perfect and it definitely isn't quite ready just yet. I've had the sensor now for around 4 or 5 days, and in that short amount of time I've been testing it out, trying it in some small automations and in some large automations, and I have run into some issues and some problems with the sensor itself. That short amount of time isn't really enough time to test it in its full potential, or even enough time to get some initial updates out and fixes for the device, so don't let that put you off, or don't let that be a decider. I'm not writing the sensor off, but equally I'm not saying this is the best thing ever, even though it is pretty cool. I'm still really excited for the potential for this sensor, and I'm excited to see where it's going to go, and hopefully there will be some fixes in place to just make it even better. So if you are interested in seeing a more in-depth review or seeing how I've got on and what kind of automations I've come up with, then make sure you are subscribed, because I'm going to be revisiting it in probably a few weeks. So for now, let's quickly run through what you get in the box, then I'll run through my initial setup and go through some of the things that I like about the sensor and some of the things that I don't. Inside the box for the FP2, you'll get the main sensor unit itself, some mounting peripherals, a USB-C to USB-A cable, and Aqara's chunky instruction booklet. I'd love to see Aqara just get rid of this whole booklet, because realistically, who reads it? We can just make use of some QR codes, and also if you use the Aqara app, that app is super detailed and gives you a full walkthrough of what to do, so I think it is a bit unnecessary. The FP2 now features this flat hockey puck design in Aqara's traditional white colour, and personally I actually prefer this flatter design compared to the FP1. I felt the FP1 was a bit chunky looking and mushroomy, if that's a thing. Some of the other notable design changes for the device are the fact that it now includes a removable USB-C cable, and what's nice about this is the fact that you can remove that cable, so if you want to use a longer length cable or even just extend the cable, you can do that. Some other big hardware changes for the device are the fact that it's now Wi-Fi based as opposed to Zigbee. There's also a handy little connector button on the top of the device which you can use to put the device into pairing mode, and the device also includes a light sensor. Although I prefer the brand new hockey puck design, there are a few issues that I do have with the design. Originally with the FP1 you were able to rotate the base so that you could have the logo the right way round, and although the FP1 had a cable sticking out of the bottom, you could at least have the Aqara logo the right way up. With the FP2 you can't do this. There's no way to rotate the bottom, so if you have this thing on the shelf and having it looking down, then the Aqara logo is going to be upside down, and because it's on this white background, you can't really cover it up or put anything over it without it being visibly noticeable. This definitely feels like maybe it was a Friday afternoon job by somebody at Aqara, but Who knows, maybe they'll release some skins, or maybe you can 3D print something and put it on the front. I'm not sure if that affects the millimeter wave or not, but I don't know, try it out. As the FP2 now makes use of Wi-Fi and not Zigbee, you no longer need any kind of special Aqara hub in order to set the device up and to start using it. In fact, you don't even need to use the Aqara app with the FP2, you can just directly set it up and connect it straight into HomeKit, but I would highly recommend you do make use of the Aqara app, because currently that's the only way you can actually set up the specialized zones and get the most out of the sensor. And staying on topic with the whole connectivity, currently you can connect this device directly to your Aqara Home, Apple HomeKit, Home Assistant, Amazon Echo, and also Google Home. Although Google Home support is currently a little bit limited and it's missing some of the big features like zone support, but Aqara have said they are working on this and they will get it added in. You're also not able to make use of all of those things at once, so you can set the device up with the Aqara app and you can then use it in one of those other platforms, but Aqara have also said that later on in the year this device will support Matter, so when it matters, the device will matter. But yeah, you'll be able to use this device with any of those smart home platforms and they'll just work and they'll talk to each other and it'll be all nice. Straight out of the box, connecting the device to the Aqara app is a simple process, or at least it should be. Out of the box, I did have a few issues with getting it to connect to my network, and I did keep getting an error a few times, or an error telling me it needed 2.4 gigahertz to actually work, but I did finally get it to connect and it did work as expected. On that basic run through, when you set the device up, you can assign it to a specific room in the Aqara app if you've made use of the Aqara app before. You can also bind it directly to HomeKit so you can start making use of it in your Apple Home if that's something you have set up. Once I had the sensor set up in the Aqara app, the first thing that I wanted to test out was the zone mapping and seeing how well it could actually detect me around the rooms, and this is where I was actually first disappointed. When I first got in front of the sensor, it detected me as 4 people, and I'm not that big. In my front room, I've basically got the sensor on top of the sideboard, and then in front of that I have the sofa and a pretty open front room, so there wasn't any interference or any other people in the room, and it was detecting me as 4 people. Once that started detecting, the sensor then got stuck, and those 4 people didn't move around and they all stayed there, so I had to make use of the setting that allows you to actually remove any stuck states, and after that it did detect me for a little bit, but I found it to be very sluggish, and for whatever reason, I just thought this was going to be much faster than it actually is. After the initial disappointment and getting excited about it, I thought I'd make use of the firmware update and hoped that this would fix the problem that I was having, and it did fix some of it. I no longer was detected as 4 people, but the detection is still a bit sluggish, and sometimes on the iOS app it didn't even detect me or visually show me on the app. So it could detect me in a zone or detect me in front of the sensor, but I never actually saw the little person that you see moving around. And it's not actually a person either, it's a little dot. But this wasn't the case with an Android app. With the Android app, the person, the dot, was more visible and you could see it more frequently than you could on the iOS app. So maybe it's an iOS issue or maybe it is just a problem with the firmware. I'm not actually sure, but again, not that much time testing, so I can't say for definite. Using the Aqara app, you've got access to 3 main modes. The first mode is more of a basic presence detection, so it lets you tell any occupancy based in the room that it's in. The second mode, which is the recommended mode, is the mode that allows you to split the room up into different zones, and this is the one that most people are going to be interested in. The final mode is one that I've not yet tested, and it's the fall detection. So with this one, the ideal placement for the sensor is to have it on the ceiling, which is a bit funky if you're going to have this cable trailing, or maybe you're going to use it somehow, I don't know. I'm going to give this one a go and try and set it up in some kind of manner to actually test it out, because potentially this could be a really good sensor if you've got any elderly people or anybody that you're looking after, so this could be a really cool feature to make use of. For my initial testing, I've only really used this in one room, so I've had it set up where I've got a few areas based around my sofa, some areas around the sofa, and that's primarily how I've done my testing. If you enter one of these small zones, then the occupancy detecting is very quick and it does work really well, and it really is going to be a game changer that this one sensor can just do all of this stuff. Probably my favourite feature with this whole sensor is the fact that when you make use of the zone mode and you split the area up into different zones, each of those zones actually get exposed to another platform, so you can actually make an automation based on the zones. So with Apple HomeKit you can do this, and if you expose the device to Home Assistant using the HomeKit controller, then they actually automatically just appear in Home Assistant as different presence and occupancy sensors. By default with an iPhone, if you're making use of HomeKit, then the Aqara app does make you bind the device directly to HomeKit, but if you're not using it, you can just skip this, or if you do bind it to HomeKit, you'll first need to delete the device from HomeKit, and then if you're making use of the HomeKit controller, you can actually view the device and add it straight into Home Assistant. Another really cool feature that the FP2 has is that new included light sensor, and this light sensor is super quick to respond, and it's not just super quick in the Aqara app, it's also super quick in both HomeKit and also Home Assistant. So this new light sensor is going to be ideal for automations if you want to trigger things or trigger scenes based on your lighting in the environment, because it's so fast to respond. If you're looking to pick one of these sensors up, then they currently do seem to be sold out of pretty much everywhere, but Aqara have said there's going to be more stock coming, so just keep your eyes peeled. At the time of recording this, the device is still on its promo sale, so here in the UK it's selling for around £82, but that price is going to go back up after the initial promo event, so I think it's going to be around £100, which is quite expensive. Originally the FP1, which was only available in China, that started off really expensive, and that was around the £80-ish mark, and the only way you could get that was by importing it. But over time that price has dropped, so you can now pick the FP1 up for around £35-40. So hopefully the FP2 does follow suit and it does become a bit more affordable, but it is a very cool sensor and it is a very powerful sensor, so it kind of is worth it. Obviously, we'd all like it to be a lot cheaper, and if this is something you can do, Aqara, then please do. And there we go, guys. That's been a very quick look at my initial thoughts and impressions of the FP2. This sensor is really cool, and I don't for a minute doubt Aqara are just going to improve it over time. Hopefully we're going to get Matter support, and that whole buggy thing with the sensor and detection, hopefully that's going to get sorted out too. If you are thinking of picking one of these up, or if you've already got one of these picked up and you're not very impressed with it, I definitely recommend using it for a few more days or just trying it out a little bit longer, because it does seem to improve over time, or at least that seems to be how it is for me, or has been for me. That's how it is. This has been a little bit of a different one, but if you have enjoyed it and found it interesting, then don't forget to drop me a like. And if you want to see more from me, or you want to see a follow-up to this video, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and ding dong the notification bell. That way you'll be alerted to any future video that I do. As always, a massive thank you to these awesome dudes. These awesome dudes are my Patreons and also my YouTube members. And if you're interested in joining those awesome dudes, then you'll find links to all of those things in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.